What rights today in 2018 are afforded to men that are not afforded to women? I don't believe that there's systemic male privilege today. I'm not saying I could be wrong. I don't believe it though. And I would like to be convinced, or I'm certainly open to being convinced.
I feel your male privilege is a myth. I feel like only white men have that male privilege, and that's what the focus should be on.
Okay, so there's no black male privilege?
No.
Okay. We have some black men actually in the audience. Maybe they can come in afterwards. I would be interested to hear their perspective. So white male privilege?
Yes.
Okay. So what systemic white male privilege exists today? What rights are afforded, for example, to white males that are not afforded to black males, or to white males not afforded to black females? Let's divide everyone by race and gender at this point.
In regards to like laws and things like that, obviously the laws aren't like, oh, white men get this privilege and blah, 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 blah. So in regards to like technical terms, it says like men, it's laid out by laws really equally. When it comes to the actual systems, there's tons of black men crowding jails for an eighth of weed, while, white men have like weed parties and it's cool and that's their thing, but like black men are automatically arrested for it. So that goes into the whole like police brutality argument. But
so can I ask you that? I've never heard of a weed party.
You can ask one of them.
Oh yeah, you can ask.
You mean one of the white males?
Probably.
Yeah. No, I don't. It's okay. We'll have someone come in afterwards and they can explain to me a weed party. So, no, genuinely, this is not me being a smart.
What kind of parties fraternity brothers throw?
I'm sure they do, but the premise was the idea, right, that black men are in prison for an eighth of weed. Do you have any statistical data to prove that black men with nothing more than an eighth of weed go to prison?
I couldn't give you the exact statistics, but there's several accounts of it, and it's not unknown. It's pretty much common sense that blacks are way easily more arrested than white men.
Well, apparently it's also been common sense that the majority of women were pushing for the right to vote and that white men didn't support them. So we're trying to deconstruct some of these ideas that people maybe assume are common sense but are factually inaccurate. Now, the truth is men as a whole are much more likely to be incarcerated than women. Okay. Men as a whole, even white men, get far more harsh sentencing for the same crime as women.
White men are shooting up schools, so I think they should have a harsher punishment.
Well, hold on a second. I mean, hold on a second, but black men are shooting each other in record numbers as well. That's not really relevant to the point.
You were asking for the facts, and they're right here.
Let me see. Okay, so hold on one second. From the NAACP, you said for an eighth of. I want to make sure we're really clear here. You said white men are having weed parties, and a black man with an eighth of weed will be incarcerated in a federal prison. So what I have here is your source from the NAACP.
I mean, there's multiple sources. From
the NAACP, in 2014, African Americans constituted 2.3 million, or 34%, 64% of the correctional population. Okay, African Americans are incarcerated at more than 5 times the rate of whites. Now, nothing here at all involves behaviors or crimes committed. I'm trying to look for anything in here that relates to black people being sentenced simply for an eighth of weed. So this is from the NAACP. That would be as biased of a source as you could use.
Bias? What?
But I don't see it. I don't see it. Show me, give me, I would like to see, I would be very open to hearing the statistical reality. I'm not trying to be confrontational. I would like to hear that stat. I think it's horrible. I don't think anyone should be arrested for an eighth of weed or put in jail. I think we can agree on that, right?
No, I agree.
Whether they're white or black.
Yeah.
I don't think white people should be shooting up schools, whether they're white or black. So again, the systemic differences we're talking about, men, period, are more likely to be incarcerated than women.
Yeah.
Men are more likely to be physically assaulted than women. So we're getting into this. First off, this is data. But when we get into the anecdotal that, white men tend to have it better because they can walk around and have weed parties, that's not necessarily accurate. So particularly when we're discussing an issue as sensitive as race, gender, and systemic oppression or inequalities, don't you think it's really important that we get that correct and the premise correct before we go off and divide people by these subcategories?
Yeah, but I think there's tons of statistics out there already, and even if you don't want to look up the statistics, it's not hard to see how many black men are in jail at larger rates than white men.
Do black men commit crimes at a higher rate than men?
Definitely not. That's
No.
just not true.
No?
No.
No, so black men do not commit crimes at a higher rate than white males.
No.
Okay. Do you have statistics that would reflect that?
I mean, I'm sure I could look them up, but it's definitely not true. It's because racism is built into the system. That's what the system is built against blacks, and that's what racism is. That's why there are more blacks in prison.
Okay. Well, it seems like we've gotten away from male privilege, now we've gotten to black-white. But I'll go with that if you'd like to. And I don't disagree that there have been horrible instances of racism in this country, including, by the way, in Canada and, of course, in Europe, the British Empire. And by the way, I hope you understand I'm certainly not a slavery or racism apologist. I think that's bad. I think racism is bad. But you just mentioned that, someone else was just earlier was saying that I was okay with rape, which I'm not, simply because I believe there needs to be proof for rape. So I think racism is bad. If we can all agree that racism is bad, you say the systems are racist and set up. Okay. What systematic racism do we have today, then, in that case?
The system is built against. So it all goes back to slavery. Colored people of color. Sorry, have never been.
Careful. Colored people. It's people of color. One's racist. One's okay now.
Yes, people of color is the correct term. People of color have never been given an equal opportunity. They've never been given the equal opportunity for jobs because after racism was abolished, came segregation and then Jim Crow and separate but equal. So people of color have never been given the same opportunity as white people, which is why it's been built into the system.
In 2018, do you believe that's true?
Yes, it's still.
Can I ask you? Can I ask you a question? Did you go to TCU?
Yes.
At TCU, do you know if there is any affirmative action, for example, grants exclusively given to people of African American heritage?
I'm not sure if we have in place affirmative action, but I know we do have the chancellor's. What is it called?
The community scholars?
Community scholars, yeah, which is put in place to help get minorities into college.
Right. So, so there are grants and scholarships. I think we would agree across this country for minorities. Yeah.
And those wouldn't have to exist if it wasn't the system.
But will we not say
If
that's
the system was equal, then those scholarships wouldn't exist, which is why we have to have those scholarships.
so? I just want to make sure that I understand these scholarships correctly because I don't attend the school. So these are. You said it's the community grant for is that what it's called?
Community scholar.
Community scholar, and this is exclusively for minorities to try and get them on
It's
campus.
not exclusively for minorities. There is.
It's majority minorities, but you can be any race
Yeah.
and get this scholarship.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is something specifically to the school,
Yeah. To
Mostly if you come from a lower economic standpoint.
from a lower economic standpoint. Okay, are there or are there not grants, for example, or laws in place, we know affirmative action, that would be granted exclusively toward minorities? It seems in this case this one may not, but are you aware that those exist on campus?
Yes.
Okay. So when you say minority, that would be excluding people who are not minorities for this grant or scholarship, correct?
Yes.
Is that discriminatory?
No, because it's fighting against the system of racism.
Well, I'm not asking about the system of racism. I'm asking is, by definition, is that discriminating against groups of people for this grant?
No.
What is the definition of the word discrimination?
Let me look it up.
Okay. I would venture it would be something along the lines of discerning or excluding certain parameters or qualities from a given opportunity.
Unjust or prejudicial treatment of different categories of people or things, especially on the grounds of race, age, or sex.
Okay. So excluding people based on race.
It says unjust or prejudicial.
This is from Merriam-Webster.
It's from.
Okay. Here, I appreciate it. So the point is there's discrimination occurring there. Is there anything like that for white students?
Unjust. That's not unjust because it's making it equal for minorities.
It's making it equal.
Yes, because they don't have an equal chance in our society.
How do they not have an equal chance to get to TCU?
What do you think we're trying to explain to you right now? What have we been talking about this whole time?
Well, I'm looking at several black people here who've made it to TCU.
Several black people? I'm looking at a sea of white. I don't know what you're looking at.
He's
I guess
talking
you're a
about
figment
the
of our
one-
imagination.
the one-
Well, hold on a second. Sorry, you're Asian, so I guess you don't count because there are too many of you on campus. I'm saying I'm looking at many. There's a guy biracial right here.
Three people
No, listen, there have been people coming in and out. The point is, many of these people disagree. They believe they can get into to school. They don't believe there's systemic discrimination.
More white people that can get in, so there's more white people.
There are more white people in this area of town. And we've gotten away from male privilege. We talked about white privilege versus black privilege is now what we're talking about. Or people of color. It's people of color, is that the term you prefer?
Sure.
Well, I don't know. I know some people prefer black, some people prefer people of color. I would like to go back to the idea of male privilege. I still haven't heard a right afforded, or same thing with race. I still haven't heard a right afforded to someone who is a white male not afforded to, say, a black female. I think that's pivotal if we're going to talk about systemic discrimination. Sorry, my knee touched you. I apologize. I meant nothing by it. I just have wide legs. But we not agree that that's pivotal. If we're going to say there is systemic discrimination that needs to be rectified, we would need to be able to find in 2018 at least one example of systemic discrimination.
Okay. How many of our presidents have been white and male?
The last one was black.
One out
Yeah.
of 45. 1 out of 45.
And I would argue he was terrible.
I would definitely not argue that. I'd argue Obama was one of our best presidents.
Okay. That's fine. And isn't it wonderful you can have that opinion, right? You can have that opinion and I can have my opinion, but wouldn't that be proof that there are no more barriers to entry if a black man made it to the highest office in the land?
There's a study by, I forget what his name is.
Relax.
Does she seem nervous? Is that
No, him. He needs to relax.
Oh, he needs to relax. What did he do?
I mean, she's trying to get her point across. He just needs to let her say it, and
Relax.
it'll be fine.
There's lots of countries where they elected one minority president and then went all the way back to electing all white presidents. They say they're
Careful, because you're treading on some ground that could make you sound very racist here, and I don't think you're aware of it.
Maryland's not going to come across as
No.
racist.
Some of what's been said here kind of racist.
Your white
Well,
opinion of
excuse me.
racism doesn't
racism
really
is a system.
compare.
That's kind of that's a little that's I'm cool with it. That's a little bit racist.
Okay, I just want to get out here that reverse racism isn't real. I know you're all gonna yell at me.
No, I didn't. No. Listen, I would never use the word reverse racism. Saying your white opinion of racism doesn't matter is not reverse racism at all.
No,
It's
not that it
racism.
doesn't matter. It's just it doesn't compare.
Okay, how so?
Like
How
you're
would my
trying to
opinion
tell
be-
her what she's saying is racist. That's
No,
like
I said it could come across racist saying they never vote in another black president again. How people don't ever vote back. You know, that could come across as racist.
Ow.
Because of such a poor performance from a black president would be the
No,
implication.
it
But his
wasn't.
poor
I don't think
performance
you're
is like
racist.
your opinion.
I don't exactly. It is my opinion, and it was the opinion of many, many millions of Americans who voted in an old white guy, unfortunately, over a woman. Sorry, maybe we'll have a female president next go around. I'd gladly vote for a female president. I actually was a Carly Fiorina guy. I really liked her. I think she would have made a fantastic president. But I do find it interesting right here where you just said that your white opinion isn't comparable. I don't. The word comparable is interesting to me. Why would you use that choice of words?
Because what is your understanding of racism in comparison to somebody who's a person of color?
We're both human beings with opinions on an issue.
Yeah, but you play into the system and we're trying to fight against it. So why would
How would you know that I play into this? How do I play into the system?
you're a conservative Republican? Like you
You don't know anything about me.
You're sitting here saying that male privilege is a myth
Yeah.
and that rape culture isn't a problem on U.S. campuses.
And so you just said I am a part of a system which you just declared racist. You said I'm an active part in a racist system. That's a really terrible thing to say about somebody.
Well, is it
It's true.
untrue?
Yes.
No, it's not.
Then prove it.
Well, you want to prove? Okay, you want to disprove your prejudicial statement based on my race? Let me give you my best shot. I'm actually a French Canadian, or an English Canadian who was raised in French Canada. Are you aware of the language police?
No.
Okay, so let me talk to you about a little bit about discrimination. We're actually not allowed to attend English schools. We're not allowed to open a restaurant with an English sign if there's an apostrophe S. They thought I was learning disabled until the 4th grade because I was forced to go to French schools and learn math, geography, and history in French by law because if you are born in Quebec, you have to attend French schools. This comes from a theory they call pure laine, which means pure wool, pure European French blood wool. And so this is actually something, it's enforced by the language police. Where I grew up, they thought I was learning disabled as an English Canadian, being forced to go to public Catholic schools at a Protestant English-speaking Canadian, and they thought I was learning disabled until the 4th grade. I lived in an 82 Datsun for several months as I tried to make something of myself and dropped out of college and moved to the United States when I was 18 years old. So I certainly wouldn't say that I'm someone who's been raised in the lap of white American Republican privilege. By the way, there are no Republicans in Quebec. There are only liberals and liberal separatists.
None of what you said had to do with racism or anything.
It had to do with discrimination, with prejudice.
Okay.
I would say there's an English-speaking.
But you're still a white man in this society, so you're good. Your privilege is safe.
I would say this, and you're not going to like this, but I would say a white male, regardless of white, male, black, I would say white-speaking English Canadian, living, being raised in French Canada, yes, would face much more systemic oppression than you here on college campus.
Really? So it's easier being you, a white person in America, than me, a white person?
No.
Half white person in America.
You're half white person in America? No, I was talking about my upbringing because you said you're playing into the system. You're a white male conservative Republican.
Yeah, I don't care about
What if
the background.
what if I were a white male Democrat? What if I were a transgender
Then I would hope that you
Democrat?
would be fighting the system.
What system?
And trying to
We've said
change
this-
it.
what system?
The systematic racism
What's
in
systematic
America.
racism? I just need one example of systematic
Police
racism.
brutality.
Okay, police brutality. Again, with the sign is about male privilege, but you seem to really focus on the race issue. So let's talk about police brutality. How is that? So the example of the system that you say I play into here proactively in America, police brutality is an example of systemic discrimination, white male privilege.
Yes.
How so?
Because black men are killed at traffic stops, black women included. I mean, there are unjust killings in jail that mysteriously, these men kill young black men and then walk free. Like, your life and your privilege is fine, but black people are dying.
So you believe that it's okay, it's legal to kill an innocent black male and it's happening in record numbers
Yes.
because we're white?
Not because you're white, but because the system is racist.
What if I were to tell you that statistically that's untrue?
Then I would want to know the statistic.
Yeah, what if I tell you that actually white males are more likely to be shot by police?
Okay, why wasn't the Florida shooter shot dead then?
Well, we're getting into the anecdotal.
Okay.
So statistically, empirical data would say that actually white males are more likely to be shot by the police.
Okay. But I just completely disagree with that, and I don't know where your statistic is coming from.
Okay. Well, let's. I think we have some other people who would like to discuss, but
Okay.
if you disagree with the statistics, we have them up on the website. I think it's horrible if anyone is shot, an innocent person
Yeah.
shot by the police.
No,
I think we
totally.
use better training with a lot of police officers. De-escalation.
Absolutely.
I think that should be used with white or black people.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one thing, if I may, because sorry, did I step on your foot?
No, you're fine.
Oh, there's a walnut here. One thing, if I may, if the goal is to have a conversation, I really do want to have a conversation. I've tried to be respectful. Just as I'm sure you would probably be more defensive or less capable of having a civil dialogue with someone if they said, "Well, you can't possibly understand because you're a black woman, you don't know anything about this." I'm sure right away you might say, "Well, hold on, what do you mean by that?" Coming into a conversation with someone where you don't have empirical data or evidence. I presented some, you've disagreed with some, you haven't presented much of your own, but saying that someone's opinion simply isn't comparable because they're a white male, A, is not a valid argument. I hope that's not one that's taught as okay in college, and it's also not something that's going to convert anyone to your way of thinking. You know, the idea is to change my mind. I will tell you, I appreciate you sitting down and doing it, but that is probably the least effective way to enter a conversation if you're looking to change someone's mind, to say you're wrong or you don't know because you're a white male. So I would hope that moving forward that maybe you might reconsider your tact, because you seem like you seem very much like a nice lady. I don't think you're aware of that, but it shuts down dialogue before it begins as opposed to encouraging it.
I'm not going to say what she was trying to say, but I'm going to say I think what she was trying to say is you don't understand what it is like to be oppressed because you are a white male.
Mm-hmm.
White males are not oppressed.
Yeah. First off, I'd like her to explain her position.
No,
you don't
I
need to
agree
explain
exactly
it for
with
her.
what Marilyn said.
It seems a little like, what do we call it, white-splaining?
I told her, I said I think this is what she was trying to say. That's why I didn't say I think this is what she said.
But do you not believe that she can articulate? I don't want her to feel as though she's being misrepresented.
I
would like her to
don't.
articulate her own thoughts.
I feel totally fine. I agree with what Marilyn
We're
said, and that was what
friends.
I was saying.
Let me ask you this, because we've talked about data, we've talked about the facts, which you said you don't have in front of you, but let's not take my word for it. So you just said white men can't know what it's like to be oppressed. Do you believe that as an emphatic, factual statement that there are no white men in this country who could know what it's like to be oppressed, or maybe haven't had some hard breaks?
They've had hard times, but they're definitely not oppressed.
Okay, that's fair. I appreciate it. I would disagree. I think everyone has privilege in different facets, and I think on campus, I think women and people of minority people have privilege that the average white male here probably doesn't.
What privileges do we have that they don't?
Scholarships, grants, the ability to shout people down, tell them they don't have a right to an opinion because they're a white male.
No.
I would never even dream of telling either of you that your opinion isn't valid because you're a woman, you're black. No, that's not allowed. You're not allowed to tell me to stop talking. Sorry. If I were to do that, you'd say that that's white male privilege. So I appreciate it. The conversation is kind of over. It's not going anywhere. Thank you. It's over. Thank you.
How are we given scholarships that all these other people didn't have the right to get? We earned that. We were in the top of our class. That's how we earned those scholarships. We were smart. We were smarter than them. That's how we earned them.
Well, then
We
what?
weren't given it 'cause we're
Then let's
women
just
or 'cause
great.
we're minorities.
I think everyone on here is on board with scholarships for the smartest people in any class.
Just said that's
Male,
one way we have privilege.
male, female, black, or white. I don't think race or sex should even come into the equation. So good, we agree. We found common ground. Thank you very much.
Watch Louder with Crowder live, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.